everyone. It is Marcus Hansen from Small Lot Wine, your favorite wine rep, coming at you with another virtual wine training. Today, I am honored to be joined by Amanda Whitstrom-Higgins, Executive Vice President of Ancient Peaks Winery in Santa Margarita, Paso Robles, California, a beautiful, beautiful place. How are you today, Amanda?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks for being with us to talk about your winery and some beautiful, beautiful wines today. Ignore the background noise. I'm going to have some sirens coming through in a minute, but we want to welcome you and welcome all of our top 10 wine leads, floor staff, and wine managers who are going to be tuning into this video. Might not have a chance to train live with me on the wines. We're putting this together so that you guys can get all of that same information right from Amanda and the winery and go into that. So without further ado, Amanda, why don't you tell us about where you guys are located? What is Ancient Peaks and a little bit of the history on the property?
Well, thanks, Marcus. I'm so excited to be here with Top 10 Liquors. Thank you for supporting us. For a small family winery like ours, the support of people like you is extraordinary, and we are very, very grateful. So if you haven't been to Paso Robles before, it's located halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco on the coast of California. The region is located 14 miles from the Pacific Ocean, and I'm fourth generation from the Paso Robles area, and all of the owners of Ancient Peaks Winery, as well as our state Margarita Vineyard, are local and involved day to day in operating the winery, the vineyard, and the ranch. And so it's been a dream to bring forth this amazing fruit that we grow in our vineyard that I know we're going to get talking about a little bit later, and share with people all around the country. So we started in 2005. The ranch where the vineyard is located is actually a 14,000 acre ranch. We run cattle. That's the majority of what the land is used for, is cattle grazing. So we have a herd of about 600 head of mother cows. Right now, we just shipped off all of the baby calves, and it's September. We'll be expecting the cycle to continue once again. So we are truly agriculturalists and have been farming grapes in the region for a number of years, but it wasn't until in the early 2000s when we purchased this ranch that we realized just how special it was. So the Paso Robles region is pretty large. It's 45 miles from one end to the other and about 25 miles wide. And so it covers about 600,000 acres. 60,000 acres are planted. And it's a little, not a well-known fact that the majority of vineyards in our area are Cabernet Sauvignon. And so that's what we focus on. And we're going to be tasting the 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon today, which I'm excited about. But, we started in 2005 was our first vintage, and it was really just a dream for these three families to come together to tell the story of the Santa Margarita Ranch, which today has its own sub-AVA. So there's 11 sub-AVAs within the Paso Robles region because it's really, really distinct. Okay, in California, we have tortured geologic landscape. So in some areas, we've got this type of soil profile, which is a petrified oyster shell, like 10 million years old. The sea today is about 14 miles from where this oyster shell is found in our vineyard. And then less than a half a mile from that, we've got this type of Monterey shale, which is pretty crazy. So the geology is just all tumbled up together. And the closer you get to the ocean and the Santa Lucia mountain range, the weather is different. The coastal influence is much more profound. And so you get this diurnal temperature swing and this diversity of soils. But as you get further from the coast, the landscape changes almost more like a desert atmosphere. It's hot, dramatically less rainfall, maybe even a quarter of the rainfall that they see as you get closer to the ocean. So today we've got 11 sub-AVAs, which really help tell the story of our region. And we are the southernmost vineyard in the appellation on our Santa Margarita Ranch. So that's a little bit about who we are.
That's awesome. I was going to note that, and I'll put this map up. You guys are the southernmost sub-AVA, also the closest to the ocean. So those big diurnal temperature shifts that you're talking about really recharge the vines, keep the wines. There's a freshness in the wines that you won't find in some of the northeast, say the ones sub-AVAs that are further from the ocean, they're big heady wines. They're very powerful, but they don't have the freshness that wines from Ancient Peaks have because of that proximity to the ocean and those diurnal temperature shifts. So
it's pretty wild, Marcus. The diurnal shift, which most everyone knows, I know everyone at Top 10 is wine pros, but it's that daytime highs to nighttime cools. And my grandparents live on the eastern side of the AVA all growing up, and they get huge diurnal shifts, right? Maybe 50, 60 degrees, which in the world of growing grapes is wonderful. But I'll tell you, there's a secret. You get the same dramatic shifts where we are or closer proximity to the ocean, but what happens is it's less thermal units per day. So instead of warming up at 7 a.m., it warms up at 10. Instead of cooling off at 10 p.m., it cools off at 4. So your actual growing period is smaller during the hottest months, which really kind of give the grape a chance to phenolically ripen. But I will tell you, it's a little dicey when the fall comes, because we're regularly harvesting into November when there's verge of bad weather. And so when it works out great, it's perfect. But when it doesn't, it gets a little bit, it will make you nervous.
That's awesome. And I will say that to the point of temperature swings, the day that I'm lucky, I'm blessed, I got to come visit you guys in 2019, actually before we represented you, did a tour of the ranch. It was probably 800 or 100 degrees. It was in August. It was super warm. We went down to Avila Beach that afternoon to have a bottle of Ancient Peaks Sauvignon Blanc, and it was too cold to get in the water. So that shift is really dramatic. It's really, really cool. But point well taken, that on into fall, it gets a little more dicey because of that proximity. Well, you guys grow a lot of different varietals there on the ranch because of your diversity of soil type, because you have mitigating effects of, it's not just brutal heat, and it's also not just ocean. So you can grow a lot of things. Talk a little bit about those soil types and how you guys decide what to plant where on that big property.
So, from the ranch itself is 14,000 acres, and we have just under 1,000 acres planted to vineyards, which is no small amount, right? But one thing that is unique about this site is none of it is really contiguously planted. It's all planted on gentle slopes. We've got wildlife corridors. There's setbacks from wetlands. There's oak, the vineyard is studded with these beautiful oak trees. And so from one end of the vineyard to the other is close to 6 miles. And it's planted in kind of a range of different positions, facings, densities, and subsequently varietals are planted. When the vineyard was originally planted, we didn't know as much about the site as we do now. And that's the kind of beautiful thing about the pastorals region is we are still, in the midst of creating our own history. The history of our region has yet to be, solidified. And so that's one of the things that makes it really exciting. So we have grafted, changed, redeveloped several locations on the ranch because, perhaps there's a Bordeaux varietal planted in a certain region, but it just wouldn't ripen because it was too cold. So it's now Chardonnay or Pinot Noir. And so subsequently, we've got a lot of different varietals, but the primary varietal is Cabernet Sauvignon. It performs really well. We've got it planted in a few different soil profiles, and it's just a beautiful varietal. And what's interesting is being in a state vineyard, we have the luxury of being able to choose from a number of different locations, and actually within one vineyard offers extremely diverse expressions. And so Block 49 has really amazing red tone fruits, and then Block 15 is more blue tone. And so it's amazing, and I feel so blessed to be able to bring these wines across the country, but also for really incredible price point. I mean, it's estate grown, family owned and operated, under 25 dollars a bottle for almost everything, and it's just really hard to find. And from the beginning, Marcus, we are simple, we are blue collar people. You know, my son just got a pet pig. You know, for it's like we are agricultural people. We ride horses and chase cows around for fun, and so being able to bring a wine that has extraordinary quality and is at a fair price is something that we're really proud of. And we certainly could charge more, but we want a lot of people to enjoy it, and we want wine to be on every dinner table.
Absolutely. And to the top 10 folks watching this, the value that you get is really tremendous, and you're tasting that in these samples right now. Let's talk a little bit about sustainability, because that's a big thing. It's a term a lot of California wineries throw around. But you guys are part of SIP, of Sustainability in Practice, and I'm going to list the tenets of SIP up here so that everyone can kind of look at what this is really all about. Maybe you want to talk them through it a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think that the most common certifications that people hear about are organic and biodynamic. And for us, for farming on this large of a scale, the sustainability is what really works for us. I'll summarize from my perspective what are the most important elements, and that is the 3 pillars of the SIP program, which is people, planet, and profitability. And I think that 2 of those 3 principles are not really important in other certifications, but as we all know, are absolutely critical to having a healthy business that thrives, you know, year after year. And so, you know, from an environmental standpoint, there's a number of things that we focus on with, you know, not use of class 1 chemicals, you know, native grasses that are cleansing the water that goes back into creeks. I mean, there's a number of things that we're looking at, and also the reduction of the use of water in California. It's a big issue, and so we've implemented, because it's the right thing to do, we've done it. It just happens to fall within the certification process. And I think that's an important element. So we use, you know, micro emitters. Right now it's frost season. I know that our vineyard manager has been awake the last several nights dealing with frost until late, almost to June, which is pretty crazy because this is pretty late in time of year. So, and we've also got these huge fans that displace the warm air and the cold air, which help prevent frost. And the reduction of water is a really big deal. It's a precious resource. So that's kind of the environmental aspect. And then the people aspect. Are you offering, you know, continuing education? Do you offer benefits? And then profitability. It's important. You know, if you're not turning a profit, it's hard to be in business. And so for us, this process is actually a very intense process. It's a self-evaluation of a couple of 100 questions. And then they randomly select several lots and then they follow them, and then they have an external auditor come through and make sure that all of those lots of grapes are taken through the winery and fit within the program. Before they'll actually hand you this certification. And so every year we have to get that renewed, and it's on the back of every bottle right here. It's that SIP seal, which we're really proud to be part of it, and it works well for our vineyard and our business.
That is super cool. And it shows attention to detail and dedication to what you're doing. There are, you know, the joke up in the 707 Napa Sonoma is how do you make a small fortune in the wine business? Start with a large fortune, right? And to be dedicated to growing your business in an ethical way and not just doing it as a hobby. You guys are doing it right, and the product is reflective of that attention to detail and that passion. So let's taste a wine, right? We've got Ancient Peaks Sauvignon Blanc, and a wine that I will tee up in saying that Central Coast in general, from Monterey down to Santa Barbara, there are a lot of people that grow Sauvignon Blanc. It's a popular variety, obviously. And when I was in San Luis Obispo, greater Santa Barbara area, the one that I saw featured on glass pour wine lists and in cold boxes at grocery stores, because they have wine and grocery out there, and in fine wine shops, was Ancient Peaks Sauvignon Blanc, and we had to try it. It's It's so darn good, and it's got some very unique attributes. So talk to us a little bit about your 2020 Sauvignon Blanc from Ancient Peaks.
Well, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. And we've been blessed with a number of people who support us, and we're so grateful. But the 2020 Sauvignon Blanc all comes from Block 41 in the vineyard. And this is one of the coldest sites on the ranch, and that is perfect for Sauvignon Blanc. You know, one of the things that I love about our Sauvignon Blanc is the bright acidity. And this wine in particular has hints in my mind of white peach, of grapefruit, and some of that natural gooseberry that we always think of when you're talking about Sauvignon Blanc. But the brisk acidity is really important and vibrant, and something you can always count on.
It is really, really beautiful. Now, to note that there's some fans in this market of wines like Mary Edwards Sauvignon Blanc from Russian River. It has some of those same fruit characteristics, but better acidity, fresher acidity. Another, Santa Barbara producer that I tasted their Sauvignon Blanc, again, similar profile, less acidity. And if you're talking Central Valley, California, you're not even getting the same fruit profile. So I think Paso Robles, while it might not be your first thought for Sauvignon Blanc or aromatic whites, this wine in particular just really outshines. And it's no surprise to me that those restaurants that could be pouring, anything from the neighborhood chose this one for all of its really, really wonderful qualities. And you guys get good press on this wine. Now, is this wine also grown, and you call it out on the back label actually as well? What type of soil is this wine grown on?
This is in the rocky alluvium soil profile. It's kind of a blend in certain spots, but it's predominantly the rocky alluvial.
Wonderful. So well drained.
Well drainage.
Great drainage gets that freshness. Fantastic. Good. Well, the next wine we will move into a wine that has gotten some tremendous thunder from the press. And as we've talked about, Paso Robles is what Cabernet Sauvignon is what Paso is known for. It's what everyone's growing. I think there are some producers out there that sell a lot of fruit up to Napa and Sonoma to help sort of mitigate the price points without diminishing the quality of those wines. There are some people in Paso who are trying to make Napa 2.0 or Napa Light. You've got, with Ancient Peaks, you've got sense of place. You've got a wine that reflects the vineyard and the parcels that it is from. And the critics have shined some nice thoughts on this. So tell us about your Cabernet Sauvignon, the flagship, if you will, or at least the workhorse of the estate.
Oh my gosh, it's the flagship. It happens to also be the workhorse, right? So we've got Cabernet Sauvignon. This wine is, I think, really shines at any occasion, definitely over delivers for the price point. The 2018 vintage is 79% Cabernet Sauvignon. But one of the things that I love about our vineyard, and this wine in particular, we've got Merlot, Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot, and Cabernet Sauvignon as blenders, which, ultimately make it a pretty darn magnificent expression. This particular wine comes from a number of different blocks. 15, 49, 56, 15A. It kind of comes from all over the property. But our two biggest blocks are 49 and 15, as well as 50. And so when I was talking about red fruit versus blue fruit, we've got some of these. Block 15 is all made up of this oyster shell, where block 49 is more of this Monterey shale profile. So, the water retention, the amount of nutrients that are in each soil profile really help shape that wine. You'll notice that Cabernet Sauvignon in particular, the berry size is really small. It really just looks like a skin wrapped around 3 seeds. It's, really just great acidity, very Cabernet Sauvignon-like. We're not trying to create a wine that you don't know what the varietal is. Varietal typicity is an important part of creation of all of the wines that we make. And so, Cabernet Sauvignon, it does well. We love it. I hope you like it too. We're certainly grateful for the accolades that we've received for this vintage, and particularly on the Cabernet.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a lot of props to this wine. And the first time I tasted this 2018 vintage Cabernet, I just was struck by the complexity. And again, if you're making a vineyard designate or a sub AVA designate wine, some of them can really be a bit monochromatic, speaking to the place that they're from. Not a bad thing, but when you're talking about a wine that is family owned, estate grown, certified sustainable, and under $20 on the retail shelf, you're pulling 93-point scores from Wine Enthusiast. This is a really complex wine for the price, and it didn't get that rating because they new oaked the heck out of it, and they're clubbing you over the head with extraction. This wine is finessed and balanced and complex. So really, really great work on the Cabernet Sauvignon Ancient Peaks. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We're going to sell tons of it, because where else are you going to find a wine with that sort of accolade and all of those tenets, the family owned, estate grown, and certified sustainable? It's a unicorn. So staying with the Cabernet Sauvignon varietal, you a couple years ago, I think that was 2019, you were a Wine Enthusiast 40 under 40 big playa in the wine world. You received this award, this recognition for the work that you do that is part of your business, but also outside of your business. Talk to us about Dream Big Darling. What was the inspiration for that, and what is it?
Oh, well, thank you. So a few years ago, actually, I think it was almost 5 years ago, I had this idea to create a mentorship program for the next generation of professionals and leaders within the wine industry. And so I was able to come together with a number of friends and really generous people from throughout the industry and create this group called Dream Big Darling. And it's all about, dreaming big. I don't think enough people do it in this world. There's a lot of people that tell you why you can't do something, and not very many that will tell you why you can. But really, I think the world is your oyster, and that belief in yourself and the network and community that you surround yourself with is what ultimately gives you power and opportunity. And so, really in a way to make our industry stronger, because selfishly, I want to see our industry succeed. There's a lot of pressures coming from, different things. And as a young woman, and at that time, a young mother, I felt like it was really important to create a dynamic network and a support system for people who are just like me, who absolutely love this industry, who want to be in it a long time, but are also, they're trying to balance this other portion of their life. And so we created Dream Big Darling. My grandmother always called me Darling, which she called everyone Darling. So, but what I can remember at her funeral, she died in her mid 80s. There was like 600 people there, which is huge. And she was not famous. She had a concession stand at a burger joint at the Mid-State Fair, which she made delicious burgers, but, she was not famous, and she didn't die young. And one thing I just remember her about that day was kindness is free, and we need more of it. So that's really dreaming bigger and to paying it forward with kindness to make our industry stronger. And so Dream Big Darling is focused on helping the next generation of female leaders in our wine industry grow and thrive. And it's been pretty incredible to see the success that we've had. And if you're interested, just check out our website, dreambigdarling.org. But one of the things that we as a company did was we created this wine called One Stone. And so the actual art on this label was created from a local artist. This was her first paid job. And the idea is all about, you can change the world one stone at you can move a mountain at one stone at a time. And so it's been amazing to be able to give back a portion of the proceeds to our nonprofit to help really move our mission forward. And it's a delicious Cabernet Sauvignon. It comes from from our vineyards, but also our friends and neighbors from around the AVA. And it's really just an expression of the region. Approachable, and I'm just so proud of this project, and I'm thankful for people who, you know, really want to invest their dollars to something that gives back, because it certainly does. And so it's 76% Cabernet Sauvignon, 20% Merlot, and 4% Petit Verdot. And it sees, you know, 16 months in French and American oak, 10 to 15%. And it's just a really nice and approachable Cabernet Sauvignon, supporting a great cause and great people.
So, and I'll loop back to it is a wine that literally does more and moves mountains. But to the wine end, we'll taste this wine. The St. Louis Park store, Top 10 Liquors, they did a little Paso project. They tasted One Stone, and this is a control label for you guys. So you own the brand in this market. You're driving the sales for it, and they tasted it against Liberty School, and they tasted it against Dow to see where it falls. 3 of the 5 of them preferred this wine tops out of those 3, and it was a close second behind Dow for the other 2 wine leads. So this is a wine, as Amanda said, it's really approachable, beautiful, and for the money, it just does more. And again, Dream Big Darling is a charity organization dedicated to opportunities and mentorship and leadership for women in the wine world. And calling myself out as yet another white male who is in a leadership position in the wine world, it's just something we don't see enough of. You go to these conferences in Europe and it's a bunch of white dudes, and other than female winemakers and proprietors, we don't see, especially on the distribution side, women in leadership roles and on the retail side. So we're thrilled to be working with you on this brand and Top 10 Liquors. Especially the ladies who are the wine leads know that this wine has a resonating impact. As you mentioned about your grandma, it's about creating value and creating impact in your life with kindness and with reach, and the good that you do creates an impact far beyond. So as you think about recommending this wine to people, know that the impact goes well beyond just that person taking that bottle of wine home and having that experience. And I'm going on record with saying this, but I'm taking my commissions from the sales of this wine and building a bank for Top 10 Liquors to pay for WSET trainings for those of you. I mean, it's $600. It's expensive to go take your WSET test. You all are studying hard for these. So I am building a bank and working with Siri and John to help basically fund a scholarship program for those of you who are going to continue your wine education. And I'm going to use sales of this wine because it's all about giving back and doing more and moving mountains. And we're going to do that together. So I'm thrilled to be working with you all and One Stone and with Amanda and Ancient Peaks Winery, which is such a gem in our portfolio because it's wines of place and sustainability and real quality. Again, throw that up there, a real quality that people are talking about. Your customers won't be disappointed. They will absolutely come back. These wines will become their Tuesday night favorites, their Friday night gifts to friends, and great wines throughout, not only throughout the summer for that Sauvignon Blanc, but we're going to talk about Merlot and Zinfandel in the stores if you've got it in your store. A great winery and great set of wines. So Amanda, anything to close out with us today?
Well, you absolutely just made my day, and thank you for taking it upon yourself to pay it forward as well. I really appreciate that. And for any of you ladies at Top 10 who are interested in learning more or perhaps being a part of Dream Big Darling, please follow us on Instagram, check out our website. We've got a number of really cool opportunities that we'd love to invite you to participate with us in. And from our entire family, I just want to thank you for taking half an hour out of your day to listen, and thank you, Marcus. You're amazing. So appreciate it. Can't wait till I get back to Minnesota.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amanda. Everyone out there, thanks for tuning in. Be well and have a great week. Thanks. Cheers.